Welcome to Politipeeps. My name is Edward Hofer, and today we have Larry Sharpe on the show. Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started, please.
I'm a super cool guy with cool answers.
Excellent. So today we want to talk a little bit about what it's like to grow up in today's world. When you and I grew up, our peer group was made in the classroom and out on the playground, but today it's been fractured by social media, the internet, smartphones, all of this stuff. Kids reach beyond their own culture and the borders of their country, and even through to different languages sometimes using translation services that are free now. How are kids supposed to be happy and find their way through life in such an environment?
It's a great question. Look, the root of happiness for almost all of us, almost all the time, is three things. One, someone has to feel respected. Someone has to feel loved, and they have to have some kind of purpose. If you have those three things, you tend to be happy, right? Regardless of money, other things you tend to. And the way you usually get those things is some form of community, right? That's a general rule on how you get those three things, is some form of community. So you're right, it's a problem. What are kids doing now? Well, we have a couple of things. We have the idea of we have several things happening that's making that really tough. The first thing is urbanization. People moving away from their families into city situations where a nuclear family becomes more important than an extended family. So we're losing the extended family. That's been happening for decades and is still happening now, right? Or even with a nuclear family, one or two kids moves away and they're hours and hours or plane rides away from their family, right? That's one aspect. Been happening for a long time, still going. But the second piece is what you brought up, the idea of fractured media, right? Fractured media is also, again, been happening for decades, but now hitting home right now. It began, believe it or not, with cable TV, right? Is when that began in the 80s, maybe late 70s, early 80s, when it actually began to have a fractured media. That was the beginnings. Now it's very deep. Now each one has their own cell phone, the whole deal, exactly right. So as you have a fractured media, and you have things like urbanization and smaller families, add on top of that divorce rate very high, add all those things together, people moving a lot more, right? Changing jobs, all those things. The community isn't even often at your job. The community isn't even often because you move your job so often, right? The community isn't even at your neighborhood because very often you don't know your neighbors in urban communities, right? So you don't even know them. So your community is very often not your neighborhood and very often not your job. And because you move, very often not your family. So how do you find community? You just nailed it through that fractured media. But you can't just be regular media because media is so fractured. So it becomes my group of people. Sometimes people find community in like a gaming community, right? Which is one of the reasons why virtual reality becomes so popular, right? And gaming, friends gaming together. That becomes your friendship or your community, right? That becomes who you are, who your buddies are, right? So you wind up making that happen often. I remember my daughter was watching videos years ago. She was watching a YouTube video. And the video she was watching was, I think it was PewDiePie. I don't remember, but PewDiePie is a very popular YouTuber. I think it was at the time. And when she was watching it, and she was watching someone talk about someone else playing a video game. And I said, baby, I don't know. I'm curious. Why are you watching this? Why aren't you just playing the video game yourself? Or watching the video game and talking about yourself? Why are you watching someone do this? And she said, well, because I feel like I'm with him. Because when PewDiePie was talking about the game, PewDiePie is very talented at making the audience feel like the audience is with you, with him. So my daughter felt like at the time, almost like PewDiePie was her friend. They were together doing this. She was creating that kind of community. It's a common issue that pops up often, right? So that becomes the community. They feel like they're together. So this happens also with gaming, right? People jump into gaming communities. All of a sudden now, within the community, we become important. We become valuable. And here's the greatest thing. If you remember, about a year ago maybe, I think it was PlayStation. PlayStation actually had an ad, and in the ad on TV, they would show the video game being played and people shooting up and killing the bad guys or whatever the video game was, and then the tagline was, "Greatness awaits." That was a tagline. Still is, I think, to this day. I think it's still a tagline. So they're telling people, you can be great in a video game. There is your respect. There is your community. And when people support and rely upon you, there is your love. So of course people go there, right? But I'll go one step further. Look at binge watching. I was listening to a friend, right? Binge watching of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, whatever. People binge watch a show. And now if you notice, many shows are basically long movies, right? It used to be to where many series, any type of series on TV, each episode was its own episode, right? Back in the days in the 60s and 70s, very often each episode was its own enclosed episode, even the 80s still. Right now, everything's a saga that very often goes over 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. Why? I remember talking to a friend of mine, and I said, you seem kind of down. And my friend said, yeah, what just happened is my binge watch series ended. It was like 4 seasons that ended. I said, why do you feel down? Aren't you happy that it's over? And what she said to me was, I feel like I lost my family. And that really struck me, because even through binge watching, we watched a group of people go through a saga over the course of X number of weeks, days, months, whatever it was, and we felt like they were our community. We felt like they are our family. So binge watching becomes a similar thing. If you notice, if you watch, and I think The Walking Dead probably did this the best in the beginning. The Walking Dead obviously has changed, but the AMC TV show The Walking Dead was brilliant. So what The Walking Dead would do is, after the show, there'd be an hour show afterwards called Talking Dead. So you'd watch the show live. It would encourage you to watch the show live, because then right afterwards it's talking. You can call in. There's a studio audience. Actors come up. People talk about the show and how they're feeling. Literally, the host, I think it's Chris Hardwick, would say, let's walk through your feelings. Talk about your feelings. Creating community over a TV show. So everything you're saying is exactly correct. You can see how it's happening throughout everything we're talking about. We're creating community. So how do we become happy? By finding community so that we can feel respected, feel loved, and have purpose. But there's one bad thing about this that also pops up, and that is hero worship. Cult of personality is also very common. And why? Because cult of personality adds the one extra step, and that is purpose. That adds the purpose. We all rally around one guy or gal, right? One of the more popular ones is Beyonce, the Beehive, right? Very popular today, right? But many people like it. There was one famous rapper. It was either, maybe it was Jay-Z. I don't remember, but it was a popular rapper. It might be, yeah. I think maybe thinking Jay-Z because of Beyonce. I'm not sure, but it was a popular rapper. I forgot which one. I think Bill Maher was interviewing him, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure whoever's watching this will Google this and correct me. But it's something like that, where he asked, why do people care that you're doing well? You show off how well you're doing. You show people how rich you are. You show all these things. Why do people care? And he said, well, because they feel like they're part of my crew. Because they feel like my success is their success. Right? They're living vicariously through me. And he's very open about it. And I thought, it's brilliant. There's the purpose. Let's get this guy to do this. Let's get this guy or gal to be successful. Let's support her. It makes a focal point to create that community, an individual or an idea. You see it also in politics. People getting upset, crazy upset over things that don't affect them at all. Don't affect them at all. Crazy upset, marching in the streets, yelling and screaming, waving flags, holding signs on stuff that doesn't affect them at all. The focus of that actually takes away their unhappiness for a short period of time. Because now I don't have to realize how unhappy I am. I can now focus on something else. It's a very popular distraction, right? So now I'm going to care more about this issue or this person that doesn't affect me at all. I don't have to look inward. I have purpose. I have community. The people in my community respect me because they give me badges, or they give me a sign, or they give me a title. They love me because we all go together, march together, or talk together, go to a concert together. So I gain all those things. Meanwhile, my personal life behind me actually burns. Happens often.
Yeah, that actually goes to the question I wanted to ask. Because of the fractured nature of our new relationships, it's a lot easier to fall through the cracks. It's not like if you get your feelings hurt and you go off and cry that somebody notices, hey, Larry's gone, or Larry's over there crying. And so when you drop out, it's like stepping off of a cliff and nobody even knows you did it. And maybe that makes people even more susceptible to the hero worship thing.
Absolutely. And it's also one of there are many, but it's also one of the reasons for the increase in suicide. Exactly right. There are a lot of people who are insanely lonely, right? I see it in New York City all the time. New York City is a city of 8.5 million people, and at least half of them are lonely, right? So there's a lot of people who are lonely out there. A lot are. So when you find community, that becomes the key thing. And then when you lose it, now again, you don't lose community. You lose either respect or love or purpose, one of those three. Now, if you have the purpose and you lose respect, what do? You walk away. Well, there's no other community for you right now. And to your point, since no one's watching you and looking at you physically with you, they don't know what happened, right? You fall off of Facebook or FaceTime or whatever the case may be, all of a sudden it begins to collapse. That the social media world becomes your world. And when you lose that, you lose everything. So yeah, I mean, there are many times when people have called me or texted me and said, hey, someone's in trouble, Larry, can you reach out? And many times it's because it's a social media loss of respect. It's a common reason where it begins. That's where it begins, and it then begins to snowball.
So you're a very popular guy right now, and you seem to have the exact opposite problem of the person who gets offended or upset and disappears and nobody notices. I suspect you probably have a lot of people coming to you trying to be your friend and trying to boost you up. What do you do to feel a sense of community?
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people want to be in my world. I get that. I totally do. And I'm happy to have them in my world. I'm actually very approachable. I also get insulted all the time. All the time I get insulted all the time. I'm always not this enough, not that enough, not the other thing enough, not that, all the time. And I think the thing that's happened to me, and this is personal, as you're asking personal, so I'll be personal on this, is I've had my ass kicked. And when your world collapses around you and you're able to get back up and actually realize that it doesn't matter how cool you think you are, fate will smack you in the face no matter what. When you actually get that in your head and realize, no, I'm not super cool. I'm just a human. I'm just a man. That's all I am, nothing else. When you actually get that in your core, you become more immune to the, Larry's a superstar. I'm not a superstar. But I also realize that some people at certain given times in their life may require someone or something to focus them, to give them that purpose, to get that community. And if I happen to be that person for that individual, I'm happy to be that person. But I also know it's not because I'm super cool. I was joking when I said that, right? It's not because I'm super cool. It's because I'm open to be that person for that individual. I know also that it goes away. Everything's temporary. I might be cool today, and I might not be cool tomorrow. Some guy may like me today and may hate me tomorrow. Somebody may want to worship me today because I happen to be the right guy in the right place at the right time, and then not want to a year from now. It's fine. I'm okay with that. Humans change, they shift, they adjust. We all want respect, we all want love, and we all want purpose. So I think if I think of it that way, when I realize that there's a saying, and I don't know how true it is, but it stayed in my head. Men are the most powerful when they realize they are expendable. That's when they're most powerful. I think that comes from an old samurai idea, right? The Bushido, which is Bushi is as the warrior, Do is the way of the warrior, which says accept that you're already dead, and when you do that, you can be more powerful. So I think that's one of the things. When you get that in your heart, you really get it that I'm expendable. If I die tomorrow, someone else will fill my shoes. If you get that, then you don't take yourself so seriously. And I don't. People who know me know I actually don't. People who don't know me think I'm a tyrant or I'm a celebritarian. People who don't know me think that. People who know me know I don't take myself seriously.
Thank you. So how can people find you, Larry?
Sharpeway.com. Head over to Sharpeway.com. Go to The Sharpe Way with Larry Sharpe Facebook page, Sharpeway Twitter, Sharpeway Instagram.
Thank you. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share this, and ring the bell.